What happened will shock you because even I never believed my story would take this turn. When I said goodbye to Adrian that night, I thought it was forever. My heart was heavy, my voice cracked, and my soul felt like it was bleeding. He stood in front of me with that unreadable look in his eyes, a man I once called my everything, now a stranger who could barely meet my gaze. "So this is it?" I whispered, clutching the last of my strength, hoping for one final reason to stay. "This is it," he said flatly, and with those words my world shattered. I walked away, not because I wanted to, but because he left me no choice. He was choosing his pride, his doubts, his silence, anything but me. Nights turned into weeks, weeks into months. I tried to live without him, tried to teach my heart how to forget. But every little thing reminded me of him. The smell of coffee in the morning, the echo of laughter in crowded streets, the songs we once sang off-key in the car. It was torture. People told me time heals, but time only stretched the wound deeper. And then one night, with tears burning my eyes, I whispered into the empty room, "I miss you." I thought it was just words, just grief spilling out of me. But I had no idea those 3 words would find him, because Adrian came back. Not the same man I left, not the same man who broke me, but someone changed, and the way it happened will leave you breathless. It started with a letter. A simple folded paper slid under my door one rainy morning. My name was written in his handwriting, shaky but familiar. I froze. My heart thundered so loud I thought it might burst out of my chest. With trembling hands, I opened it. "I miss you too," it read. Just 4 words. But they knocked the air out of me. I wanted to hate him for it. I wanted to crumple the letter, throw it away, pretend he never existed. But my heart betrayed me because the tears that fell weren't of anger. They were of hope, a hope I thought I buried the night we parted. I didn't reply, not immediately. I wanted to know if he meant it or if it was just another cruel trick of fate. But that letter was only the beginning. The next day, another letter arrived. And the next? Each one a little longer, each one peeling away layers of the man I thought I had lost. He wrote about sleepless nights, about regrets, about how he couldn't stop hearing my goodbye. He wrote about how he stood at my street corner many times but couldn't gather the courage to knock on my door. And then came the twist I never saw coming. He confessed that the night he let me go, he wasn't choosing himself. He was hiding a secret. I couldn't stop reading. My hand shook as the truth spilled across the pages. He wasn't cold because he didn't love me. He was cold because he was terrified. Terrified of something that had been haunting him long before me. "I pushed you away to protect you," he wrote, "but all I did was destroy us." My heart screamed with 1,000 questions. Protect me from what? Why didn't he trust me enough to tell me? And why now, after months, was he suddenly ready to speak? The 3rd week, he did more than right. He came. I opened the door one morning and there he was, Adrian, standing in the rain like the day we first met, drenched but determined. For a moment I couldn't breathe. He looked at me with eyes that carried storms and apologies. "I miss you," he said, the same words that had haunted me for months, only now they sounded like a plea, like a lifeline. But I didn't fall into his arms. I didn't forgive him in an instant. "Why now?" I asked, my voice trembling between love and fury. "Why after breaking me into pieces?" He looked away, swallowed hard, then whispered, "Because the truth was too heavy to carry alone." And that's when everything began to twist in ways I never expected. He stepped inside, dripping water onto the floor, his shoulders trembling as if every drop of rain carried his guilt. I crossed my arms, not to look strong, but to stop myself from reaching for him. My heart ached, but I couldn't let him see how much I still needed him. "Talk," I whispered. "Say what you should have said the night you let me go." He stared at me for a long time, his jaw tight, his lips parting, then closing as if the words were trapped. Finally, he whispered, "I was sick." My chest tightened. "What do you mean?" "Not the kind you can see," he said. "The kind that keeps you awake at night, that makes you hate yourself even when everyone else loves you." I didn't want to drag you into it. I thought walking away was saving you. I blinked, stunned. Adrian, the man who once carried the world on his shoulders, the man who smiled through storms, was telling me he was broken, fragile in ways I had never guessed. I wanted to be angry. I wanted to scream that he had stolen my choice, that he had let me bleed for months while he hid in silence. But all I could see was his shaking hands and the way his voice cracked. "You don't get to decide what I can or cannot carry," I said, my voice sharper than my tears. He flinched, but he didn't argue. Instead, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded letter, damp from the rain. He placed it on the table between us. "Read it when you're ready. It explains everything I couldn't say." He turned to leave, but this time I couldn't let him. "Adrian," I called, and he froze. "You can't come back just to walk away again." His shoulders sank. Slowly he turned, and for the first time in months I saw raw honesty in his eyes. "I don't want to walk away. Not anymore. But if you never forgive me, I'll understand." And then he left, leaving me alone with the letter that felt heavier than stone. I didn't open it right away. For days it sat on my desk like a sleeping ghost. I tried to ignore it, tried to live as though he hadn't returned, but my heart betrayed me again. Every time I looked at it, my hands itched to unfold the truth. On the 5th night, I gave in. The letter was longer than the others, his handwriting shaky but clear. He wrote about the nights he couldn't breathe, the panic that strangled him, the shame he carried in silence. He wrote about his father's words, how he had been told real men never break, and how those words had chained him for years. And then he wrote about me, about how loving me was the only time he felt free. But the fear of losing me to his darkness was worse than the fear of losing me to goodbye. My tears stained the page. I wanted to hate him, but all I felt was an ache so deep it cut through my bones. He wasn't the villain I painted in my head. He was human, flawed, terrified, but still mine in ways I couldn't erase. The next morning I found myself walking to the park where we once spent lazy afternoons. He was there, sitting on the bench, staring at the pond as though waiting for me. When he saw me, his face softened, almost like he hadn't believed I would come. "You read it," he said quietly. I nodded, unable to speak. "Do you hate me?" His voice was fragile, almost childlike. I sat beside him, the silence heavy but not unbearable. "I don't hate you," I said, "but I don't know if I can trust you again." He closed his eyes as though the words pierced him. "I'll earn it," he said, "even if it takes forever." We sat there in silence, and for the first time since our goodbye, I felt something shift. Not forgiveness, not yet, but a crack in the wall I had built around my heart, and that crack was enough for the light to slip through. I told myself I wouldn't see him again, but the next day and the day after, I found myself drawn back to that same park. And every time Adrian was there, waiting as if he knew I would come. We didn't talk much at first. Sometimes he would ask about my day. Sometimes he would just sit quietly beside me, respecting the silence I needed. It was strange being near him again. My heart still remembered the warmth of his hand, the sound of his laughter, the safety of his arms. But it also remembered the nights I cried into my pillow, begging for an explanation that never came. Trust was fragile, like glass. Once broken, it could never be the same. Yet every glance, every small gesture made me wonder if maybe, just maybe, the glass could be pieced together again. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky in soft shades of pink and gold, I asked the question that had been burning inside me. "Why didn't you tell me back then? Even if you were afraid, why didn't you trust me enough to stay?" He lowered his head, fingers twisting together nervously. "Because I thought you'd leave once you saw how weak I was, and I couldn't bear the thought of watching you walk away." I swallowed hard. "But I did walk away, Adrian, because you pushed me out." His eyes flickered with pain. "I know, and I hate myself for it every day." I should have felt stronger hearing his regret, but instead I felt my walls trembling, because the truth was I still loved him. I hated that I did, but my heart didn't care about logic. It cared about the boy who once held me under the stars, who once promised me forever with trembling lips. And maybe that was why I whispered the words that would change everything. "I miss you." His eyes shot up, wide and stunned, as though he couldn't believe what he heard. For a moment he didn't speak. Then his hand reached out, hesitating in the air before gently brushing against mine. "Say it again," he pleaded, his voice breaking. "Please." My lips trembled. "I miss you." The silence that followed was heavier than any words. His eyes glistened, and for the first time in months I saw him smile. Not the confident smile he showed the world, but the fragile, grateful smile of a man who had been given a second chance. He leaned closer, but I pulled back. "Don't mistake my words," I said firmly, though my heart raced. "Missing you doesn't mean I forgive you. Missing you doesn't mean I can forget everything." He nodded quickly. "I don't want you to forget. I just need you to know that I still love you, and I'll do whatever it takes to prove it." And he did. In the weeks that followed, Adrian began to show up in ways he never had before. He remembered the little things like how I took my tea or the book I had been meaning to read, or the fact that I hated walking home alone at night. He didn't try to force his way back into my life. He stayed at the edges, letting me decide how close he could come. Slowly, almost against my will, I began to soften. I found myself laughing at his jokes again, letting him walk me home, listening to his voice when he called just to say goodnight. But just when I started to believe we could heal, a new twist tore through my fragile hope. One evening, I returned home to find an envelope slipped under my door. For a moment, I thought it was another letter from Adrian, but when I opened it, my blood ran cold. It wasn't his handwriting. The letter inside carried no name, no greeting, just a warning written in harsh strokes. Don't trust him. He's still lying. The paper shook in my hands as I read the words again and again. Don't trust him. He's still lying. My heart pounded, confusion spiraling into fear. Who would send me this? And what could Adrian still be hiding? I folded the letter quickly and shoved it into a drawer, but it didn't leave my mind for a second. That evening, when Adrian called, his voice warm and gentle, I found myself hesitating before answering. Hey, he said as though nothing had changed. Did you eat? Simple words, but they felt heavy now, layered with questions I couldn't ask. Nice, I replied, forcing calm into my voice. I did. He told me about his day, about a client at work, about how he'd seen a dog that reminded him of one we once talked about adopting. His words should have comforted me, but the letter's warning echoed louder than anything he said. The next day at the park, I watched him more carefully. Every smile, every glance, every pause felt suspicious now. I hated myself for it, but I couldn't stop. You look like you're carrying something heavy, he said softly, studying my face. I shrugged, pretending to brush it off. Just tired, but inside my mind screamed questions. Was he lying all along? Was he only pretending to be broken so I would let him back in? Or was someone trying to ruin the fragile bond we were rebuilding? Days passed and the letters didn't stop. Another one came the following week. This one was sharper, crueler. You'll regret letting him back. He hasn't told you everything. My hands trembled as I read it. I wanted to confront him, but what if it was true? What if there was more he hadn't told me? That night, unable to sleep, I finally asked him, my voice shaking through the phone. Adrian, is there something you're not telling me? Silence, then a sigh. There's more, he admitted, his voice low. I wanted to wait until the right moment. My stomach dropped. More? He paused. The night we broke up, it wasn't only about me. There were things happening at work, things that could have dragged you into danger. I didn't want to risk it. My blood turned cold. Danger? What are you talking about? His voice grew urgent. I can't explain over the phone. Please meet me tomorrow. I'll tell you everything. Sleep was impossible. My mind raced with possibilities. Was he in trouble with someone? Had he done something unforgivable? Or was someone trying to frame him? When I met him the next day, his face was pale, eyes shadowed with exhaustion. He took my hand, leading me to a quiet bench away from the crowd. I didn't want to involve you, he began, but I owe you the truth. He told me about a deal gone wrong at work, about people he once trusted who betrayed him. He admitted that he had debts he had been too ashamed to tell me about. And then came the part that stole my breath. The letters, he whispered, they're not random. They're from someone who wants to destroy me, and they're using you to do it. My hands trembled. Why me? His jaw clenched. Because you're the only person I care about enough to fight for. I didn't know what to believe. His confession was raw, but how could I be sure it wasn't just another layer of lies? I stared into his eyes, searching for the boy I once loved, the man who broke me, the man who was now begging for trust. If you want me to believe you, I said finally, then stop hiding pieces of yourself. No more half-truths. No more letters I don't understand. I need all of it, Adrian, or nothing at all. He nodded, his eyes burning with something between fear and determination. Then you'll have it, everything. And just like that, the game had changed again. The night after Adrian's confession, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. His words played over and over in my head, twisting into a storm I couldn't escape. Debts, betrayal, danger. And the letters, whoever was sending them knew too much. I thought about ignoring it, about pretending none of this was real, but the truth clung to me like a shadow. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a new message. It wasn't Adrian. It was unknown again. He's lying to you. Meet me if you want the truth. My hands went cold. A location followed, a small cafe I used to pass by after work. My chest tightened. This was insane. I should delete it, block the number, tell Adrian everything. But a stronger voice inside whispered, "What if this is your only chance to know the full truth?" I didn't tell Adrian. Instead, that afternoon, I walked into the cafe, my heart pounding so loudly I thought everyone could hear it. A man sat in the corner, older, with tired eyes that flicked up as I approached. "You're her," he said quietly, sliding an envelope across the table. "The girl Adrian never stops talking about." My breath caught. "Who are you?" "Someone who tried to help him. Someone who lost everything because of him." His tone was sharp, almost bitter. I wanted to walk away, but my curiosity rooted me to the spot. I opened the envelope. Inside were photos. Adrian in meetings with people I didn't recognize, exchanging envelopes, shaking hands. Some looked tense, others suspicious. My chest tightened. "What is this?" "Proof," the man said flatly. "He wasn't just in debt. He worked with people who can ruin lives." He pulled me in, and when it all fell apart, he walked away. "Now he's trying to drag you in too." I pushed the photos back, my hands shaking. "You're lying." His eyes softened, but his words cut deep. "Ask yourself this, why hasn't he told you everything yet? Why are you still piecing it together through strangers?" I couldn't breathe. I stood up quickly, almost running out of the cafe. The street spun around me, my pulse racing. Who was telling the truth? Adrian with his trembling eyes and promises? Or this stranger bitter and broken, warning me I was being fooled again? That evening, Adrian called. His voice was warm, but I couldn't ignore the tremor of doubt in my chest. "You're quiet," he said softly. "Did something happen?" I swallowed hard. "Adrian, were you working with people you shouldn't have been?" The silence on the other end was heavier than any words. Finally, he whispered, "Yes." My stomach dropped. "So it's true?" "No." His voice rose, desperate. "Not the way you think." I was desperate. I made mistakes. But I never wanted you involved, never wanted you hurt. I swear everything I did was to protect us. Tears burned my eyes. "But you lied. Over and over. You left me once with no answers, and now you're doing it again." "I know," he said, his voice breaking. "I know I ruined everything before. But this time I'm not running. I'm fighting. Please believe me," my heart warred with itself. I wanted to scream, to hang up, to walk away and never look back. But the memory of his arms, the way his eyes held mine like I was the only person in the world, it pulled at me until I couldn't move. That night, I cried myself to sleep. Not because I hated him, but because I didn't know if loving him would save me or destroy me all over again. The next morning, another letter slipped under my door. This one was just one line written in bold, jagged ink. He's not the only one keeping secrets, and for the first time I realized this story wasn't only about Adrian's lies. Someone else was playing with us. Someone who wanted me to break before we could ever find a happily ever after. The letter lay on my table all night, its single line burning in my mind. He's not the only one keeping secrets. I couldn't shake it off. Who else could they mean? Me? No, I had nothing to hide unless this wasn't about me at all. The next day, I decided to confront Adrian. I couldn't keep playing this game of half-truths and whispered warnings. When he arrived, his face lit up like it always did when he saw me, but I didn't let myself get lost in his smile. I crossed my arms, holding the letter tight in my hand. "We need to talk," I said, sharper than I intended. His smile faded. "Another letter?" I nodded, handing it to him. He read it quickly, his jaw tightening. For a long moment he said nothing, then crumpled it in his fist. "Whoever this is, they're trying to tear us apart. And you're letting them." I flinched. "Don't put this on me, Adrian. I didn't ask for any of this." His eyes softened instantly, guilt flooding his face. He reached for me, but I stepped back. "You keep saying you love me. You keep saying you want me to trust you. But every day I learn something new about your past from someone else, not you. How am I supposed to believe you?" Adrian dropped his hand, his shoulders sagging. "You're right. I haven't told you everything. I was scared. Not of you, but of what the truth could do." "Then tell me now," I whispered. "No more lies. No more pieces. Just tell me everything." He stared at me, his throat working as if the words were heavy stones he couldn't lift. Finally, he spoke. "Before I met you, I was in deep. I thought I was smart enough to handle it. The debts, the people I worked with, they weren't forgiving. I paid what I could, but it wasn't enough. So I struck deals. Dirty ones. I promised things I couldn't deliver. And when it all started crashing down, I ran. Ran to me, I said bitterly. He nodded. Yes, and for a while you made me forget. You made me feel like I could be someone else. But when the pressure came back, when the threats started again, I thought leaving you was the only way to keep you safe. Tears pricked my eyes. But you didn't protect me, Adrian. You broke me, his voice cracked. And I've regretted it every single day. The silence stretched, heavy and suffocating. I wanted to believe him. My heart screamed at me to believe him. But then another thought sliced through the haze. What if they're right? What if you're still hiding something? Adrian's eyes darkened. Whoever is sending these letters, they're not innocent. They want you to see me as the villain so you'll never come back to me. And I swear I'll find out who it is. For a moment I saw the fire in him, the same fire that once made me fall in love. But fear gnawed at me too. If Adrian went looking for this person, what if he fell right back into the world he was trying to escape? That night I couldn't sleep. Every sound outside my window made me flinch. I got up, pacing my room, my mind a storm. My phone buzzed suddenly, making me jump. Another unknown number. My hands shook as I opened it. You don't know everything about yourself either. My heart nearly stopped. What was that supposed to mean? Before I could reply, another message came. Ask your family about the night everything changed. Confusion washed over me. My family, what did they have to do with this? I stared at the screen, panic and dread curling inside me. This wasn't just about Adrian anymore. The next morning, I called my mother. My voice trembled as I asked, Mom, is there something you've never told me? Something about the past? About me? There was a pause on the line long enough to make my skin crawl. Then she sighed, her voice heavy. I hoped you'd never have to know. The room tilted. Know what? Her voice cracked. Sweetheart. Adrian wasn't the only one who kept secrets. There's something about our family I never told you. Something that connects you to all of this. My breath caught. The ground beneath me felt like it was falling away. In that moment, I realized the letters weren't just trying to expose Adrian's lies. They were pulling me into something much darker, something that had been buried in my past all along. And the worst part? I wasn't sure I wanted to know the truth. I couldn't move after my mother's words. My legs felt weak, my chest hollow. What do you mean? I whispered, gripping the phone so tightly it hurt. Her voice shook. This isn't something I can explain over the phone. Come home. Tonight. The line went dead before I could protest. All day I was restless, staring at the clock, my thoughts racing between Adrian, the letters, and whatever secret my mother had hidden from me all these years. When night finally fell, I made the long walk to the house I grew up in. The porch light was on, casting a warm glow, but the air felt heavy with things unsaid. My mother was waiting in the living room, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. She looked older, wearier, as if the weight of the secret had been pressing on her for decades. I sat across from her, my heart pounding. Tell me. She hesitated, then spoke slowly. The night your father died wasn't what you've always believed. The air left my lungs. What are you talking about? You told me it was an accident. Her eyes glistened. That's what everyone was told. But the truth? It wasn't an accident. He was involved with dangerous people too. He made promises he couldn't keep, and when he couldn't pay them back, they came for him. I shook my head in disbelief. No, that can't be true. Tears slid down her cheeks. I kept it from you to protect you. I thought if you didn't know, you'd never have to live with the fear. But now, with Adrian back in your life with those letters, someone out there knows your father's story, and they want you to know it too. My stomach churned. Adrian's debts, his enemies, and now my father's past. It all tangled together into a nightmare I couldn't escape. Before I could ask more, my phone rang. Adrian. I almost ignored it, but something in me said to answer. His voice was urgent. I think I found him, the one behind the letters. Meet me, please. Every instinct screamed not to go, but curiosity, fear, and something else, love, dragged me forward. When I arrived at the old railway yard Adrian mentioned, the night was still and tense. He was waiting near the tracks, his figure tense against the moonlight. Thank you for coming, he said, his eyes scanning the shadows. He'll be here soon. Who? I whispered. Before Adrian could answer, footsteps echoed. A man stepped out from the darkness, the same one I had met at the cafe. His eyes flicked between us, sharp and bitter. You shouldn't have brought her, he hissed at Adrian. She deserves the truth, Adrian snapped. No more games, the man laughed coldly. Truth? You wouldn't know it if it burned you alive. His gaze shifted to me. Your father and Adrian, they're the same. They play with fire and everyone around them gets burned, including you. My chest tightened. What do you mean? The man's smile was cruel. Your father owed my people. Adrian owes them now. And you, whether you like it or not, you're the thread that ties it all together. That's why I've been warning you. Adrian stepped forward, fists clenched. Leave her out of this. If you want me, take me. Just don't touch her. The man's eyes glinted. Funny. That's exactly what your father said before he died. The world tilted, my breath stolen. Adrian turned to me, his face pale with shock. What is he talking about? Tears burned my eyes. My mother told me tonight. My father didn't die in an accident. He was killed. By the same kind of people you were mixed up with. Adrian's hands shook, his jaw tight. Then this isn't just about me. This has been about you all along, the man sneered. Smart boy. Took you long enough. Before either of us could reply, headlights flared in the distance, cutting across the tracks. A black car rolled closer, its engine low and menacing. Adrian's hand found mine, gripping tight. Whatever happened, stay with me. I couldn't speak. My whole life, the lies, the goodbyes, the pain, it all felt like it had been leading to this moment. The night my I miss you brought him back wasn't just about love. It was about uncovering a truth darker than either of us had imagined. And as the car doors opened and shadows spilled out, I realized this story wasn't nearing its end. It was only spiraling deeper. The headlights blinded me for a moment, and the sound of car doors slamming open made my heart thunder in my ears. 3 men stepped out, dressed in dark coats, their faces hidden in the shadows. The air around us grew sharp, like the world itself was holding its breath. Adrian stepped in front of me, his body tense like a shield. Stay behind me, he whispered, but the man from the cafe smirked, almost proud. See, I told you he'd drag you into this, just like your father. The tallest of the 3 men walked forward, his voice calm but menacing. Adrian, you've been hard to find. Adrian's jaw tightened. You found me. Let her go. She has nothing to do with this. The man's gaze slid to me, cold and assessing. Nothing to do with this? She's everything to do with this. She's her father's daughter. I froze. What does my father have to do with you? He tilted his head, his lips curving into a cruel smile. He owed us. He thought he could cheat us, escape his debt. He died for it. And now, fate brings his daughter right back to us. The ground beneath me felt like it disappeared. My father's death wasn't just tragic. It was tied to these monsters standing in front of me. I wanted to scream, but the sound caught in my throat. Adrian snapped, his voice like fire. You're not touching her. This ends with me, the man from the cafe scoffed. And what will you do, Adrian? You already failed once. You'll fail again. The leader's eyes narrowed. Enough talk. The girl comes with us. Maybe then Adrian will finally pay. Adrian moved so fast I barely saw it. He lunged forward, grabbing my hand, pulling me back as the men advanced. Run! He shouted. We bolted. The crunch of gravel under our feet mixing with shouts behind us. My heart pounded so violently I thought it might burst. Adrian's grip was iron around my hand, his breath ragged as we weaved through the abandoned rail yard. Where are we going? I gasped. Somewhere safe, he panted. Just trust me. But that word, trust, stabbed at me. Could I, after everything? And yet, as shadows chased us, as danger closed in, I realized I had no choice. We ducked into an old warehouse, the air thick with dust and rust. Adrian pushed the heavy door closed behind us, pressing his back against it, his chest heaving. For a moment, silence fell, broken only by our breaths. I pressed my hands to my temples, my body trembling. Adrian, what have you done? What have we gotten into? He stepped closer, his voice low, desperate. I know you hate me for keeping secrets. I know I ruined everything before. But right now you need to believe me. I will not let them take you. Tears stung my eyes. But they already took my father. And now because of you, they're back for me. His face crumpled. I'm sorry. God, I'm so sorry. If I could take it all away, I would. But please don't give up on me now. Not when I'm fighting to keep you. I shook my head, my voice breaking. Do you even understand how much it hurts to still love you? To want to believe you even when everything tells me not to? He reached out, cupping my face with trembling hands. I don't deserve it. I don't deserve you. But I swear on everything, I'll make this right. Even if it costs me everything. A loud crash outside jolted us both. The men were here. Adrian pulled me close, his forehead pressed to mine for one last second. Whatever happens, don't let them break you. You're stronger than you know. The warehouse door rattled violently. My pulse roared in my ears. In that moment, I didn't know what scared me more, the men outside, or the thought of losing Adrian all over again. Because this time, if he walked away, I knew I wouldn't survive it. The warehouse door burst open with a metallic scream, the hinges snapping as the men stormed in. Dust swirled in the air, catching the beams of their flashlights. Adrian pulled me behind a stack of crates, his hand gripping mine so tightly it hurt. "Stay quiet," he whispered, his breath warm against my ear. Footsteps echoed on the concrete, slow and deliberate. One of the men's voices cut through the silence. "You can't hide, Adrian. You never could." I pressed my hand against my mouth to keep from gasping, my whole body trembling. Adrian's eyes locked on mine, steady despite the fear in them. "Trust me," they seemed to say. Suddenly, another voice joined, the cafe man. "Enough of this. She doesn't belong here. Let her go and finish this with him." My heart skipped. Was he protecting me? Or leading me into another trap? The leader's voice boomed. "You've grown soft, Daniel. You were supposed to deliver both of them, not fight for the girl." My stomach flipped. Daniel, the cafe man, had a name now. And he wasn't just some bitter stranger. He had been part of their world all along. Adrian stiffened, fury flashing in his eyes. "You set her up?" Daniel's face twisted with guilt. "I had no choice. They ruined my life just like they ruined yours. But I never wanted her in this." I shook my head, confusion tearing through me. "Then why warn me? Why send the letters?" His eyes met mine, raw and broken. "Because I wanted you to know the truth. Not just about him, but about your father. I thought if you hated Adrian, you'd stay away. You'd be safe." The leader's patience snapped. He stepped forward, gun in hand, the metal gleaming in the dark. "No more talking. Adrian, it's time to pay your debt." Adrian moved before I could think. He shoved me to the ground, shielding me as a shot rang out. The crack echoed through the warehouse, sharp and terrifying. My scream caught in my throat. But when I opened my eyes, Adrian was still there, his arms around me. The bullet had missed, just barely. Daniel shouted, lunging at the leader, wrestling for the gun. The other two men rushed forward, chaos exploding in the shadows. Adrian pulled me to my feet. Run, but I couldn't move. My legs were frozen, my mind a blur of fear and disbelief. "Adrian," he grabbed my face, forcing me to look at him. His eyes blazed, desperate and fierce. "If you love me, if you ever loved me at all, go." The words shattered something inside me. I stumbled toward the back door, my chest heaving, every step tearing me apart. Behind me, the warehouse filled with shouts, crashes, the sound of fists and gunfire. I burst into the cold night air, choking on sobs. My body screamed at me to keep running, but my heart dragged me back. I couldn't leave him. Not again. I turned, creeping back toward the shattered doorway, peeking through the gap. What I saw froze me. Daniel was on the ground, blood seeping through his shirt. One of the men lay unconscious nearby. Adrian and the leader stood face to face, the gun between them, both struggling for control. "Adrian!" I screamed without thinking. His head whipped toward me, and in that split second of distraction, the leader shoved him back, wrenching the gun free. My heart stopped. The man raised the weapon, aiming at Adrian's chest. This is the end. I didn't think. I didn't breathe. I just ran forward, shoving against the man with every ounce of strength I had. The gun fired, the sound splitting the night. For a moment, everything was smoke and ringing silence. Then I saw Adrian, on the ground, clutching his shoulder, his face pale. He was alive. The leader staggered, the gun slipping from his hand as Daniel, bleeding and broken, tackled him to the ground one last time. The weapon clattered across the floor, and Adrian crawled toward me, pulling me into his arms. "You're insane," he whispered, his voice hoarse, shaking against me. "You could have died." Tears streamed down my face. "So could you. And I can't lose you again." Sirens wailed in the distance, faint but growing louder. Someone must have called the police. The men scattered into the night, leaving only Daniel behind, his breath shallow, his eyes dimming. He looked at me, his lips trembling with his final words. "I tried to save you from all of this." And then, he was still. I buried my face against Adrian's chest, my body racked with sobs as the sirens drew closer. Everything had shattered. My father's past, Adrian's mistakes, Daniel's betrayal, but through the chaos, one thing remained unbroken. Adrian's arms around me, and the terrifying truth that no matter how many lies, how much pain, I still loved him with everything I had left. The wail of sirens grew louder until red and blue lights flooded the night. Police cars screeched to a stop outside the warehouse, officers spilling out, shouting orders. I held Adrian tightly, refusing to let go even as paramedics rushed toward us. His blood seeped warm through my hands, but his grip on me was steady. "I'm fine," he whispered, though his face was pale. "Don't cry. Please don't cry." I shook my head fiercely. "You almost died again, and you're asking me not to cry?" The paramedics eased him onto a stretcher, and even then he refused to release my hand. I walked beside him as they loaded him into the ambulance, my heart a storm of fear, relief and love that hurt more than any wound. At the hospital, the hours dragged. I sat in the waiting room, staring at the sterile walls, my hands still stained with his blood. My mother came, her face lined with worry. She sat beside me, taking my hand. "I never wanted this for you," she whispered. "I thought hiding the truth would protect you. But maybe you were always meant to face it." I leaned against her shoulder, tears slipping down my cheeks. "I don't know if I'm strong enough." Her arms tightened around me. "You are. Stronger than me. Stronger than your father. Stronger than Adrian. That's why he loves you. Because you don't give up on him, even when the whole world tells you to." When the doctor finally came out, his words felt like a lifeline. "He'll be okay. The bullet missed anything vital. He needs rest, but he'll recover." Relief crashed over me so powerfully I almost collapsed. I rushed into his room, my heart in my throat. Adrian lay there, pale but alive, his shoulder bandaged. His eyes lit up the moment he saw me. "You stayed." I sat beside him, taking his hand in both of mine. "Of course I stayed. Where else would I be?" His voice broke. "After everything. After all the lies, the danger. You should hate me. You should walk away." Tears blurred my vision. I did walk away once, and it almost destroyed me. I don't want to spend the rest of my life running from what I feel. "I love you, Adrian. I hate that I do sometimes, but I can't change it. I don't want to change it." His fingers tightened around mine, his eyes glistening. "I don't deserve you." I leaned closer, pressing my forehead to his. "Then spend the rest of your life proving me wrong." For the first time in what felt like forever, he smiled. A real smile, fragile but filled with hope. Days passed. The police took statements, searched for the men who had escaped, and tried to untangle the web of debts and threats left behind. It wasn't simple, and it wasn't over. But slowly, a fragile peace began to settle. Adrian moved into my apartment once he was discharged. Partly because I didn't trust him to take care of himself. Partly because I couldn't bear the thought of being apart. We argued sometimes about trust, about the past, about the fear that still lingered like a ghost. But every fight ended the same way, with him holding me, whispering, "I'm not leaving." Not this time. One night, weeks later, we stood on the balcony, the city lights stretching out before us. The wind carried the faint sound of laughter and car horns, the noise of life moving forward. Adrian slipped his arm carefully around me, his shoulder still tender. "Do you think we'll ever really be free of it?" I leaned against him, my voice soft but certain. "Maybe not. Maybe the past will always haunt us in some way, but that doesn't mean we can't have a future. We just have to fight for it." He kissed the top of my head, his voice barely a whisper. "As long as you're with me, I'll fight every day." I closed my eyes, letting myself believe in that fragile promise. Because love wasn't about perfect endings. It wasn't about fairy tales or happily ever afters. It was about choosing each other, through the pain, the fear, the scars. And though our story had nearly ended in goodbyes, though it had twisted and broken us 100 different ways, one truth remained unshaken: I missed him. I loved him. And somehow, against all odds, he had come back. This time, I wasn't letting go. If you liked the story, hit the subscribe button for more videos and comment your favorite part.